The golden clock on the wall showed 10 o'clock at night. Marcus Wellington sat in his big leather chair at the Diamond Club. This was not just any club. Only the richest men in the city could enter here. The walls were covered with expensive paintings. Crystal lights hung from the ceiling like diamonds. Everything in this place cost more money than most people made in a year. Marcus was 35 years old. He had black hair and sharp blue eyes. He wore a suit that cost $5,000. On his wrist was a watch worth more than a car. Marcus owned hotels in 10 different cities. He had restaurants that served the most expensive food. His shopping centers were always full of people buying things they could not afford. But Marcus had one problem. He was alone. "Marcus, my friend," said Richard Thompson, walking up to him with a glass of wine. Richard was also very rich. He owned banks and always wore a mean smile. "We were just talking about you." Marcus looked up. 5 other rich men stood around Richard. They were all smiling, but not in a nice way. "What were you saying about me?" Marcus asked. "We were saying that you think you are too good for everyone," said James Miller, who owned oil companies. "You are 35 years old and never married. You think no woman is good enough for you." Marcus felt his face get hot. "That is not true. I just have not found the right person yet." "Oh, come on," laughed Robert Clark, who owned car factories. "You have dated the most beautiful women in the city. Models, actresses, smart businesswomen. But you always find something wrong with them." "You are too picky," said David Brown, who built houses for rich people. "You will never get married because you think you are perfect." Marcus stood up from his chair. He was tall and strong. "I am not too picky. I just know what I want." "Really?" Richard said, his eyes getting bright with a bad idea. "Then let me ask you something. Do you think love is real? Do you think 2 people can be happy together no matter what?" Marcus thought for a moment. Love is just a word people use when they want something from each other. Real relationships are about having things in common. Money, education, family background. These things matter. "Ah, I see," Richard said, walking around Marcus like a cat around a mouse. "So you think love only works between people who are the same? Rich people with rich people. Smart people with smart people." "Yes, that makes sense," Marcus said. Richard stopped walking and looked at all his friends. They were all nodding and smiling now. "Then I have a bet for you, Marcus Wellington." The room became very quiet. Everyone loved it when Richard made bets. He always thought of the most impossible things. "What kind of bet?" Marcus asked, but he already felt worried. "I bet you cannot marry someone completely different from you and make it work for 1 month," Richard said loudly. "Not just any different person. I mean someone who has nothing. No money, no education, no family, no home. Someone you would never look at twice on the street." The other men started talking excitedly. They loved this idea. "That is crazy," Marcus said. "Why would I do that?" "Because you always say you are so special and so smart about people," Richard said. "Prove it. Show us that Marcus Wellington can make any relationship work with his great personality." Marcus felt trapped. All his friends were looking at him. If he said no, they would think he was scared. They would never let him forget it. "How much money?" Marcus asked. $1 million, Richard said quickly. "If you can stay married to my choice of person for 1 whole month and be happy, we will all pay you. But if you cannot do it, you pay us." Marcus looked around the room. Everyone was staring at him. His pride was hurt, and his anger was growing. "Fine," Marcus said, his voice hard and cold. "I will do it. Choose anyone you want. I will prove that I can make it work." Richard smiled the biggest, meanest smile Marcus had ever seen. "Excellent," Richard said. "Tomorrow morning, I will show you your future wife." Marcus did not know that his life was about to change forever. The morning sun was bright and hot. Marcus sat in Richard's expensive black car. His hands were shaking a little bit. He had not slept well last night. Every time he closed his eyes, he thought about the bet. What kind of person would Richard choose for him to marry? "Where are we going?" Marcus asked. Richard was driving and smiling. "You will see, my friend. You will see." They drove through the nice part of the city where Marcus lived. Big houses with green grass and tall trees lined the streets. Then they drove through the middle part of the city where normal people lived in small apartments. Marcus started to feel worried as the buildings got older and dirtier. "Richard, where exactly are we going?" Marcus asked again. "The best part of town," Richard said, but his voice was full of lies. Finally, they stopped. Marcus looked out the window and felt sick. They were in the worst part of the city. The buildings were broken and old. Trash was everywhere on the ground. The air smelled bad. Marcus had never been to this place before. He always drove around it to avoid seeing it. "Get out," Richard said. "Time to meet your wife." Marcus opened the car door slowly. The smell hit him first. It was the smell of dirty water, old food, and people who had not washed in a long time. He saw homeless people sitting against walls. Some were sleeping on cardboard boxes. Others were digging through trash cans looking for food. "This is a joke, right?" Marcus said. "You cannot be serious." "Oh, I am very serious," Richard said. He started walking toward a bridge. "Come on." Under the bridge, it was dark and cool. More homeless people lived here. They had made small homes out of boxes and old blankets. Marcus wanted to run back to the car, but Richard kept walking. "There," Richard said, pointing with his finger. "There is your future bride." Marcus looked where Richard was pointing. Sitting alone on the ground was a young woman. She had dark skin and was very thin. Her clothes were old and had holes in them. Her hair was messy and dirty. She sat quietly with a small paper cup in front of her. A few coins were at the bottom of the cup. Marcus stared at her. "No, absolutely not. This is too much, even for a bet." "A bet is a bet," Richard said loudly. "You said I could choose anyone. I choose her." The woman looked up when she heard them talking. Marcus saw her face for the first time. Even though she was dirty and tired, her eyes were beautiful. They were big and brown, and seemed very smart. But there was also sadness in them. Deep, deep sadness. Richard walked up to the woman. "Hello there," he said in a fake nice voice. "What is your name?" The woman looked scared. She probably thought they were going to hurt her or steal her coins. "Sarah," she said quietly. Her voice was soft but clear. "Well, Sarah," Richard said, "this man here wants to talk to you." Marcus felt his face turn red. He wanted to leave, but he could not let Richard win. He walked closer to Sarah. She smelled like she had not had a bath in many days. But when he looked into her eyes, something strange happened. He did not see just a homeless person. He saw a human being who was hurt and alone. Marcus got down on one knee so he could look at Sarah at the same level. "Sarah, I have a very strange question for you." Sarah did not say anything, but she kept looking at him. "I will give you a place to live, food to eat, and clothes to wear," Marcus said slowly. "All you have to do is marry me for 1 month. You do not have to love me. You do not even have to like me. Just say you will marry me." Sarah's eyes got very wide. She looked at Marcus, then at Richard, then back at Marcus. "Why?" she asked. Marcus did not know how to answer that question without telling her about the bet. "Because I need a wife," Marcus said. "And you need help." Sarah was quiet for a long time. She looked at her empty cup and her dirty hands. Then she looked back at Marcus. "Yes," she said simply, "I will marry you." Richard started laughing very loudly. 3 days later, Marcus stood outside City Hall. He wore his best black suit and shiny shoes. His hands were cold and wet with sweat. Today was his wedding day, but it did not feel real. It felt like a bad dream. Sarah was not there yet. Marcus had sent his driver to pick her up from a cheap hotel room. He had paid for the room so she could wash and sleep before the wedding. Marcus looked at his expensive watch. She was 10 minutes late. Maybe she changed her mind, Marcus thought. Maybe she ran away. Part of him hoped she did. Then he could tell Richard the bet was off. Richard stood next to Marcus with a big camera. "Do not worry, my friend," Richard said with his mean smile. "She will come. Poor people always come when there is money involved." Marcus felt angry when Richard said that, but he did not know why. He did not care about Sarah. She was just part of a bet. Right? A black car pulled up to the building. Marcus's driver got out and opened the back door. Then Sarah stepped out, and Marcus could not believe his eyes. Sarah wore a simple white dress that Marcus had bought for her. It was not expensive or fancy, but it looked perfect on her. Her hair was clean and pulled back nicely. Her dark skin was smooth and glowing. She had washed away all the dirt, and now Marcus could see how truly beautiful she was. "Wow," Richard said quietly. "She cleans up nice." Sarah walked up to Marcus. She moved with grace, like a dancer or a princess. Her brown eyes looked directly at his blue eyes. She was not scared anymore. She looked calm and strong. "Hello, Marcus," Sarah said. Her voice was different now. It was clear and educated. "Thank you for the dress and the hotel room." Marcus felt confused. Sarah did not sound like the scared homeless woman from under the bridge. She sounded like someone who went to school. Someone smart. "Are you ready?" Marcus asked. "Yes," Sarah said simply. They walked into City Hall together. The inside was cold and gray. It did not look like a place for weddings. It looked like a place for paying parking tickets. Richard followed them with his camera, taking pictures of everything. The wedding ceremony was very short. The judge was an old man who looked bored. He had done hundreds of weddings just like this one. He did not care if the people loved each other or not. "Do you, Marcus Wellington, take Sarah Johnson to be your wife?" the judge asked. Marcus looked at Sarah. She was looking right back at him. Her eyes were serious but kind. "I do," Marcus said. His voice sounded strange to him. "Do you, Sarah Johnson, take Marcus Wellington to be your husband?" the judge asked. Sarah did not look away from Marcus's eyes. "I do," she said clearly. "You may kiss the bride," the judge said. Marcus and Sarah had not talked about this part. Marcus leaned down and gave Sarah a small, quick kiss on her lips. Her lips were soft and warm. For just a second, Marcus forgot about the bet. For just a second, it felt real. Richard took more pictures. "Perfect," he said loudly. "This is perfect." After they signed the papers, they were married. Marcus Wellington, the millionaire, was now married to Sarah Johnson, the homeless woman. But as they walked out of City Hall together, Marcus noticed something strange. Sarah did not act like other people did around his money. She did not ask for things. She did not look excited about being rich now. She just walked next to him quietly. "Where do we go now?" Sarah asked. "To my house," Marcus said. "To your new home." They got in Marcus's expensive car. Sarah sat in the leather seat and looked out the window. As they drove away from the city and toward the hills where Marcus lived, Sarah saw things she had never seen before. Big houses with swimming pools, green grass everywhere, cars that cost more than most people's houses. "Is this where you live?" Sarah asked as they drove through Marcus's neighborhood. "Yes," Marcus said. "This is where we live now." Sarah nodded but said nothing more. Marcus wondered what she was thinking. He wondered if she was happy or scared. Most of all, he wondered who Sarah Johnson really was. Marcus's house was like a palace. It sat on top of a hill with a view of the whole city. The house had 12 rooms, 5 bathrooms, and a swimming pool. The floors were made of shiny white marble. Crystal lights hung everywhere like frozen stars. Everything was perfect and expensive. Sarah stood in the front door and looked around. Her mouth opened a little bit. She had never seen anything so big and beautiful in her whole life. "This is your home now," Marcus said. He felt proud showing off his house. "You can go anywhere you want. Use anything you need." Sarah walked slowly through the living room. She touched the soft leather chairs gently. She looked at the big TV on the wall. She stared at the paintings that cost more money than most people made in 5 years. "Where should I sleep?" Sarah asked. Marcus had thought about this question. "There is a guest bedroom upstairs. It has its own bathroom. You will be comfortable there." Sarah nodded. "Thank you." Marcus showed her to the bedroom. It was bigger than the hotel room where she had stayed. The bed was soft and covered with silk sheets. The bathroom had a big bathtub and fluffy white towels. "We do not have to pretend to be a real married couple when we are alone," Marcus said quickly. "This is just business, just for the bet." "I understand," Sarah said quietly. The first week was very strange for both of them. Marcus left the house at 6 in the morning and came home at 9 at night. He did this on purpose. He did not want to spend time with Sarah. He was afraid it would make the bet harder. But Sarah surprised him every day. When Marcus came home, the house was always clean. Sarah had folded his clothes and put them away. She had watered his plants that were dying before she came. She even fixed the broken lamp in his office. "You do not have to do these things," Marcus told her. "I have people who clean the house." "I like to stay busy," Sarah said. "It makes me feel useful." Marcus had 3 people who worked in his house. Maria cleaned the rooms. James worked in the garden. Mrs. Chen cooked the meals. Marcus was surprised to see that Sarah talked to all of them like they were her friends. She helped Maria carry heavy things. She asked James about the flowers. She learned to cook new foods from Mrs. Chen. "The new Mrs. Wellington is very nice," Maria told Marcus one day. "She treats us like family, not like workers." This made Marcus think. Most of his friends' wives never talked to the help. They acted like the workers were invisible. The biggest surprise was Sarah and the books. Marcus had a huge library with thousands of books. Most people who visited his house never went into the library, but Sarah spent hours there every day. One evening, Marcus came home early. He found Sarah sitting in his library reading a thick book about business and money. "You can read?" Marcus asked. Then he felt stupid for asking such a rude question. Sarah looked up at him. "Yes, I can read," she said. "Is that surprising?" Marcus's face turned red. "I am sorry. I did not mean." "You thought homeless people cannot read," Sarah said. It was not a question. Yes," Marcus said honestly. Sarah closed the book and looked at Marcus. "There are many things you do not know about homeless people. Many of us went to school. Many of us had jobs and families and normal lives before we ended up on the streets." Marcus sat down in a chair across from her. "What happened to you?" Sarah was quiet for a long time. She opened the book again and pretended to read. "Everyone has a story," Sarah said finally, "but not everyone needs to hear it." Marcus wanted to ask more questions, but Sarah's voice told him to stop. He left the library, but he could not stop thinking about what she said. That night, Marcus could not sleep. He kept thinking about Sarah reading his books. He thought about how she was kind to his workers. He thought about how she never asked him for anything, not even new clothes or jewelry. Who was Sarah Johnson? And why did Marcus care so much about finding out? The second week was different. Marcus found himself coming home from work earlier every day. Instead of staying at his office until 9 o'clock, he came home at 6, then 5 o'clock, then 4 o'clock. He told himself it was because he wanted to check on his house. But deep inside, he knew the real reason. He wanted to see Sarah. One evening, Marcus came home and found Sarah sitting in his garden. She was reading a book about world history. The sunset made her skin glow like gold. She looked peaceful and beautiful. "May I sit with you?" Marcus asked. Sarah looked up and smiled. It was the first real smile she had given him. "Of course, it is your garden." Marcus sat down next to her on the stone bench. "What are you reading?" "A book about ancient Egypt," Sarah said. "Did you know that women in ancient Egypt had more rights than women in many countries today?" Marcus was surprised. "No, I did not know that." "Queen Hatshepsut ruled Egypt for 22 years, Sarah continued. "She was one of the most successful pharaohs in history, but most people have never heard of her because she was a woman." Marcus stared at Sarah. No woman had ever talked to him about ancient history before. Most of the women he dated only wanted to talk about shopping, parties, or movie stars. "How do you know so much about history?" Marcus asked. Sarah's smile disappeared. "I used to. I read a lot." Marcus noticed she always did this. Whenever he asked about her past, she changed the subject or gave short answers. They started sitting in the garden together every evening. Sarah would tell Marcus interesting things from the books she read. Marcus would tell Sarah about his work and his business deals. For the first time in his life, Marcus felt like someone was really listening to him. "You are very smart about business," Sarah said one night, "but you are not happy." Marcus was shocked. "What do you mean?" "You have everything money can buy," Sarah said, "but you seem lonely, like you are looking for something you cannot find." Marcus felt uncomfortable. Sarah was right, but he had never admitted it to himself. "Money does not buy happiness," Sarah said softly. "I learned it the hard way." "Were you rich before?" Marcus asked quickly. Sarah looked away. "I was not poor." Marcus wanted to ask more questions, but he could see that Sarah was sad. He decided to wait. One night, Marcus came home and heard strange sounds from the library. Someone was crying. He walked quietly to the library door and saw Sarah sitting on the floor. She was holding a small photograph and crying very hard. Marcus felt his heart hurt. He had never seen anyone look so sad. "Sarah," Marcus said gently, "are you okay?" Sarah quickly tried to hide the photograph, but Marcus had already seen it. It showed Sarah in a beautiful white wedding dress, standing next to a tall man in a black suit. They both looked very happy. "Who is that?" Marcus asked. Sarah wiped her tears. "Someone I used to know." "Your husband." Sarah nodded but did not say anything. Marcus sat down on the floor next to her. "What happened to him?" "He died," Sarah whispered. 2 years ago." Marcus felt shocked. Sarah had been married before. Her husband was dead. That explained why she was so sad sometimes. "I am sorry," Marcus said. "That must be very hard." Sarah looked at Marcus with tears in her eyes. "I loved him so much. When he died, I lost everything. Not just him, but everything." Marcus wanted to ask what she meant, but Sarah started crying again. Without thinking, Marcus put his arm around her shoulders. Sarah did not pull away. She leaned against him and cried. For the first time since he was a little boy, Marcus felt like he wanted to take care of someone. He wanted to protect Sarah from being sad. He wanted to make her smile again. But Marcus was scared of these feelings. This was supposed to be just a bet. He was not supposed to care about Sarah. What was happening to him? The third week started with a problem. Richard called Marcus early Monday morning. "Hello, my friend," Richard said on the phone. His voice sounded suspicious. "How is married life?" "It is fine," Marcus said quickly. "Just like we agreed. 1 month, and then it is over." "Good, good," Richard said. "I am coming to visit you today. I want to see how you are handling your new wife." Marcus felt worried. "Why do you want to visit?" "Because I miss you," Richard lied. "And I want to meet the famous Sarah again." Marcus knew Richard was planning something bad. Richard always visited when he wanted to cause trouble. That afternoon, Richard came to Marcus's house. He brought James, Robert, and David with him. All the rich men from the club were there. They wanted to see Marcus suffer with his homeless wife. "Where is she?" Richard asked, looking around the beautiful house. "Sarah is in the garden," Marcus said. They all walked outside to the garden. Sarah was sitting under a tree reading a book about science. She wore a simple blue dress that Marcus had bought for her. Her hair was clean and shiny. She looked calm and peaceful. "Hello, Sarah," Richard said with his fake smile. "How do you like being rich?" Sarah looked up from her book. She studied Richard's face carefully before answering. "Being comfortable is nice," Sarah said, "but I have learned that having a home is more important than having money." The rich men looked at each other. They expected Sarah to be excited about the money and expensive things, but she sounded like a wise teacher, not a greedy homeless person. "What is that book you are reading?" James asked. Sarah held up the book. "Quantum Physics for Beginners. I find science very interesting." Robert laughed. "You can understand that?" "Yes," Sarah said simply. "The universe is full of beautiful mysteries. Science helps us understand them." David whispered to Richard, "She does not sound like a beggar." Richard's eyes got narrow and mean. He did not like that Sarah was smart and dignified. It was ruining his plan to embarrass Marcus. "Tell us about your life before you met Marcus," Richard said loudly. "Where did you come from?" Sarah's face became sad, but she kept her voice steady. "Everyone has a past, Mr. Thompson. Some stories are private. But surely you are grateful to Marcus for saving you from the streets." Richard pushed harder. Sarah looked at Marcus. Something passed between them. A look that made Marcus's heart beat faster. "Marcus has been very kind to me," Sarah said. "But I do not think of myself as someone who needed saving. I think of myself as someone who needed a second chance." After the men left, Marcus found Sarah in the library. She was putting books back on the shelves. "I am sorry about Richard," Marcus said. "He was trying to embarrass you." "I know," Sarah said. "But why does he want to hurt you?" Marcus felt his face get red. Should he tell Sarah about the bet? Should he tell her the truth about why he married her? "Richard thinks I made a mistake marrying you," Marcus said. It was not the whole truth, but it was not a lie either. Sarah stopped putting books away. She turned to look at Marcus. "Did you make a mistake?" Sarah asked quietly. Marcus looked into Sarah's brown eyes. 3 weeks ago, he would have said yes immediately. But now, after talking with her every evening, after seeing her kindness and intelligence, after holding her while she cried, Marcus did not know the answer. "No," Marcus heard himself say. "I do not think I made a mistake." Sarah smiled, and Marcus felt something warm grow in his chest. That night, Marcus could not stop thinking about Sarah. He thought about her smart answers to his friends' rude questions. He thought about how she never asked him for expensive things. He thought about how she made him feel calm and happy. Marcus realized something that scared him very much. He was falling in love with his wife. The bet had become real, and he did not know what to do about it. Time was running out. Only 1 week left before the month was over. Tomorrow would be exactly 1 month since Marcus and Sarah got married. Tonight was their last night together before the bet ended. Marcus walked around his house feeling nervous and sad. He had made a decision. He was going to tell Sarah the truth about the bet and ask her to stay married to him for real. Marcus found Sarah sitting on the balcony looking at the stars. She wore a white nightgown and looked beautiful in the moonlight, but her face looked sad and worried. "Sarah," Marcus said, sitting down next to her, "I need to tell you something important." Sarah turned to look at him. "I need to tell you something too." "You go first," Marcus said. Sarah took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking. "Marcus, I have not been honest with you. I have been keeping a big secret." Marcus felt his heart start beating fast. "What secret?" Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out the old photograph she always kept hidden. She handed it to Marcus with tears in her eyes. "Look at this picture carefully," Sarah said. Marcus took the photograph. He had seen it before when Sarah was crying. It showed Sarah in an expensive wedding dress standing next to a man in a business suit. But this time, Marcus looked more carefully at the background. Behind them was a big sign that said, "Harvard University Business School Graduation." "I do not understand," Marcus said. Sarah's voice was very quiet. My name is Dr. Sarah Johnson. I have a PhD in economics from Harvard University. The man in the picture was my husband, Dr. David Johnson. Marcus stared at the photograph. He could not believe what he was hearing. 2 years ago, David and I owned a successful business. Sarah continued. We helped companies with their money problems. We were rich, respected, and very happy. Marcus felt like the world was spinning around him. You were rich. Yes, Sarah said, tears falling down her face. We had a big house, expensive cars, and more money than we could spend. But then David got very sick. Sarah wiped her tears and continued her story. Marcus sat very still, afraid to move or speak. David had a rare type of cancer, Sarah said. The doctors said they could help him, but the treatment was very expensive. Our insurance would not pay for it because it was experimental. Marcus felt his heart breaking as he listened. We spent all our money trying to save David, Sarah said. We sold our house, our cars, everything we owned. We used all the money from our business. When that was not enough, we borrowed money from banks. What happened? Marcus asked quietly. David fought the cancer for 8 months, Sarah said. I was with him every day in the hospital. I held his hand when he was scared. I read to him when he could not sleep. I told him I loved him every single day. Sarah stopped talking and cried harder. Marcus wanted to hold her, but he was too shocked to move. David died on a Tuesday morning, Sarah whispered. I was holding his hand when he stopped breathing. The last thing he said to me was, I love you, Sarah. Be happy. Marcus felt tears in his own eyes. I am so sorry. After David died, I had nothing left, Sarah said. The hospital bills were huge. The bank took everything I had left to pay our debts. I lost our business because I could not run it alone while I was taking care of David. How did you end up on the streets? Marcus asked. I had no money, no job, and no place to live, Sarah said. I tried to find work, but I was too sad to think clearly. I made mistakes. I could not focus. No one wanted to hire me. I lived in cheap hotels until my money ran out. Then I lived in my car until they took that too. Finally, I ended up under the bridge where you found me. Marcus understood now. Sarah had not been homeless because she was lazy or uneducated. She had been homeless because she chose love over money. She gave up everything to try to save her husband. When you offered to marry me, Sarah said, I said yes because I needed help, but I never expected to feel anything for you. Now I am scared because I think I am falling in love again, and I do not know if I can survive losing someone else I care about. Marcus took Sarah's hands in his. They were small and soft but strong. Sarah, I have something to tell you too, Marcus said. The reason I married you was because of a bet. Sarah looked surprised but not angry. Richard bet me that I could not marry someone different from me and be happy for 1 month, Marcus said. If I won the bet, I would get $1 million. I was so proud and angry that I said yes. Marcus expected Sarah to get upset, but she just smiled sadly. I know about the bet, Sarah said softly. You know, Marcus was shocked. Richard made sure I heard him talking about it, Sarah said. He wanted me to feel hurt and embarrassed. But I also saw something in your eyes that told me you were not as cruel as your friends. Marcus and Sarah sat quietly for a moment, both thinking about everything they had shared. Sarah, Marcus said finally, I do not care about the bet anymore. These past weeks with you have been the happiest of my life. You are smart, kind, strong, and beautiful. You made me see that real love has nothing to do with money or where someone comes from. Sarah smiled through her tears. You are not the same man who found me under that bridge. You have become kinder and more caring. Will you stay married to me? Marcus asked. Not because of the bet, not because you need help, but because we love each other. Sarah looked into Marcus's eyes. Yes, she said. I will stay married to you forever. Marcus kissed Sarah gently, and they both knew their fake marriage had become the most real and beautiful thing in their lives. The next morning, Marcus called Richard and all his friends to meet him at the Diamond Club. "Well," Richard asked with his mean smile, "are you ready to pay us the money? Is your month of marriage over?" "Yes, the month is over," Marcus said, "but I am not paying you anything." "What do you mean?" Richard asked angrily. "I mean I am staying married to Sarah forever," Marcus said loudly. "I lost your bet on purpose because I found something worth much more than $1 million. I found real love." Richard and the other men were shocked and angry, but Marcus did not care. He walked out of the club and never came back. Marcus and Sarah used his money and her business knowledge to start a new company. They helped people who had lost everything because of medical bills. They made sure no one else would have to choose between love and money like Sarah had to do. Their love story became famous in the city. People said it proved that real love could happen between anyone, anywhere, at any time. Love did not care about money, race, or social class. Love only cared about finding two hearts that belonged together. Marcus had started with a cruel bet, but he ended with the greatest prize of all, a wife who loved him for who he really was, not for what he owned. And Sarah had started with nothing, but she gained everything. A husband who saw her true worth and loved her completely. Together, they lived happily ever after, proving that sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places.